Hi, my name's Angela. I'm one of the librarians at Brambleton Middle School, and I'm here with my co-librarian, Melissa, to tell you about our amazing new program, our One Book, One School, that we completed this year with the book Front Desk.
So when it was apparent that the schools were not going to be opening for some time this fall, we began thinking of ways that we could help create a school culture, climate, community across the distance learning landscape. So we approached Principal Dawson with the idea of a community read. And it was a very last minute thing. So we had to look for something that was going to be basically free. So it just so happens that the Loudoun County Public Library chose Front Desk for their One Book, One Community. And it just so happens that that is perfect for middle school. So we took advantage of the copies that the public library was able to give to us. There were enough for teachers to have copies. And we approached Principal Dawson about the idea. We knew that, that she had already purchased the Positivity Project in response to the county's need for social emotional learning and advisory. And we didn't want her to feel that she had wasted her money on that. So we were able to show her that by reading the book, we would also be able to review and have students interact with and apply the knowledge that they learned earlier in the year with a Positivity Project in the actual book, the discussion of the book.
So our plan was to take the book Front Desk, which, in case you don't know what Front Desk is about, it's about a 12-year-old, 11-year-old girl named Mia who is just starting school for the first time in a new school in California. She's moved from China, and her parents get a job working at a motel where they think they're going to have a really great experience. And it turns out that there's a lot more hardship than they anticipated. So there were some really good conversations that we could have with our students with this book. And I think we were able to do that by reading 1 to 2 chapters a day with the students during our advisory time. So we started in March and continued towards the end of May. And either us, the librarians, read 1 to 2 chapters that we had pre-recorded for the teachers, or the teachers themselves got books and read to their students, which is always fun. And then after reading, the students would interact with the text. So we would provide questions that were both based on the Positivity Project traits or comprehension questions and questions about how they felt about the story that they were reading. And we got a lot of feedback from the teachers saying that some of their more quiet den time students, or their students that they had been struggling to have conversations with, were now able to open up and talk about some of these projects because they had the shared experience of the book to speak about. So we had a lot of really good reactions with this plan. And we were also able to add some current events in as they happened, unfortunately, during our time that we were reading our book, particularly with the violence to Asian Americans in the past. So it was a really great conversation starter that we had a lot of great feedback for.
So if there's one thing that we like to do in the library, it's to celebrate. Every month we have something that we are celebrating or highlighting, whether that be our cultural diversity or different reading celebrations. So as it turned out, we decided we would begin in March, which is, of course, the National Education Association's Read Across America. So the jump start of the book, that was our nod to that celebration. It continued through the month of April, which is the American Association of School Libraries School Library Month celebration. And we are concluding in May, which is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So since our book is about Chinese immigrants and about their experience coming to the United States, we felt like it was the perfect book that was able to tie in all 3 celebrations together.
And not only were we able to tie in the celebrations, but we were also really able to focus on teaching empathy with this book. There were some difficult topics in this book that we were able to have conversations with our students about because of the positive tone and the age-appropriate way that they're presented. So we had conversations about poverty, about assault, racism, towards both Asian and African American people, bullying, and one of my favorite conversations though was about appropriately treating members of the opposite sex that we had from the book as well, that I had with my own den time. So we were able to take some of the Virginia Education Equity Framework and insert those into our den time lessons so that we could help to stop that racism and help those kids that were feeling ostracized because of maybe who they are or where they grew up or how much money that they have. So I feel that this book really opened up our students to the experiences of people not like them and help them to understand others' actions and become more empathetic. We were even able to, because of the diverse characters in the books, we were even able to work with our Climb Crew, which is a group of diversity students that represent our school as a whole, and they help to guide our equity for our students throughout the school year. And one of the things that they specifically asked for was more books with characters that looked like them. And so because of the diverse characters in the book, the African American characters, the Latinx characters, our main character who is Asian American, as well as a couple of other characters who are Asian American in the book, we were able to give them characters that looked like them that maybe had similar experiences to them as well.
We felt like we needed to have some sort of event to mark the conclusion of this rather large project that has taken 3 months of our lives. When we looked into the book, the main character, Mia, even though she comes to the United States not knowing a word of English, really enjoys reading. And she also wants to be a writer. And she works very hard throughout the entire book to become a better writer. And towards the end is rewarded with a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut for an essay for her Small Moments essay. So we decided we would host also a writing contest. There are 6 different prompts that students are able to choose from. And what we did is for prizes, we chose, there is a sequel to the book, Front Desk, called 3 Keys. We got 3 copies of that, which we will award to the top writer in each grade. And then we will also be giving honorable mentions in each of the 6 categories and honoring those with a personal pan pizza to Pizza Hut. So that will be sort of mark our conclusion of the first big run into One Book, One School.
Yes. We also have, for a school-wide competition, we have a Jeopardy game to play to test the students' knowledge of the book as well, just for fun as a wrap-up if our den time teachers want to do it. We did have, from our den time teachers, we had some really amazing feedback from them, as you can kind of see popping up on the screen here. I particularly enjoyed it. I have a den time of my own who was one of those groups that didn't have a lot to say until we started reading the book. And I also got a lot of groans at the beginning, like, oh, why are we reading a book? But then every morning they would start asking earlier and earlier, can we start reading? I want to know what happens next. So I personally was really glad that we did this. I feel like it made better connections with my den time students. Some of the other teachers said that they were starting to read the book with their own children because they liked it so much, that their own den time students opened up and started having better, more in-depth conversations while they were reading the book. We got a lot of messages from teachers saying that the conversations they were having were very meaningful, that they felt like this was a really good way to spend their den time, their advisory, and that the kids were really liking the book. So we were really happy to hear. I was also really happy to hear when they made comments about my reading and how it was keeping them awake in the morning. So that's good. But we're definitely going to try to do it again. We are planning our next read aloud, although next year will look a little bit different and we're not quite sure how it's going to work yet. We are working and planning on our next book and our next One Book, One Community project. So anything else, Melissa?
No, just that we were we were a little anxious about whether or not that we would get positive feedback from the teachers, especially knowing that we love reading, but maybe not everyone loves reading as much as we do. But felt like the way that we were able to attack it was something that was manageable by other teachers, and they actually welcomed the change. So that was